Hey guys, let's go ahead and start a minute early. So, how many poop trowels do I own? Wouldn't you like to know? Exactly, if you can hear me okay, go ahead and put a comment down below. I know there's going to be a delay. If I'm too loud or what's going on, just let me know in the comments. I'm keeping track of it. So, of course, there's a delay now. See, more poop comments. You guys are just giving me a hard time. And oh, good, everything sounds good. But it seems like we have 17 people watching. This is pretty cool. It's my first time doing this at my home computer, and it's a little weird sometimes to see the delay, but I think it's doable. But I thought we'll go ahead with the Q&A, and you guys asked a ton of really good questions. Like I was going through it today, just putting it all in a oh wow, this just popped across. Oh, my timer just went off. I was going through it all today, and everything was like almost like a full page worth of a Word document that I did. And so we'll go ahead and hit through that. And thanks. Yeah, this shirt is great. What it is if you guys who aren't Star Wars fans get it, but it's actually supposed to be Boba Fetch. And I actually get all my shirts that you see and you're like, oh, that's a really cool shirt. I get it from Woot. So shirt.woot.com is where I get it from. And it's I don't know. I like it when people are wearing a t-shirt and someone says, hey, that's really cool, or that's really funny. And I'm just reading the comments. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first question I got was, what hiking boots and socks do I wear? And that one's easy. That one's a gimme. You guys who watch know it's the Salomon Speedcross 3s, and I tend to wear right socks. I know some people try to kind of get me to wear wool socks, or I try Darn Tough out, and that didn't really work for me. Right socks are these double layer socks. So what the idea is that you have this friction point, and so instead of it between your shoe and your sock, it's between two layers of the sock, and it adds an additional layer. So that's usually what I wear. I have not made any changes to kind of what I wear. So since I made that video, I still kind of believe in staying away generally from cotton. And so I tend to stick with polyester. Wool sometimes, that just can get a little bit more expensive. I tend to find a lot of the stuff I wear from Walmart or Amazon. The pants I usually will get from REI, and I still try to stay to synthetic fabrics, so nylon, polyester, those sort of things. And we got a really good big question that I thought was interesting to consider. But going back to the boots and socks, I saw Devin mentions he hasn't tried the Speedcross yet. I actually tried La Sportiva Wildcats, but actually what happened on my Michigan trip is that the Wildcats have this nylon shank in them, I guess, toward the toes. And after my Michigan hike, I couldn't feel like 3 of my toes, just because I used to have more flex and be able to feel the trail under my foot. And I had a really difficult time with that because I really wanted to love the Wildcats because they felt like boots, like they were really well cushioned. But I after not feeling my toes, that kind of freaked me out a little bit. I did some research and found that was fairly common. So I tried to go ahead and go back to the Wildcats. I actually returned the Speedcross. Let's see. Yeah, sorry. The socks that I use are called Right socks. So you spelled it correctly, W-R-I-G-H-T. So I get them from Amazon, and they're really, really handy. Like I don't use any other sock. I don't get any blisters, and it just helps stop any friction. I do not wrap medical wrap around my feet. I usually will do it if I feel like a hot spot forming. So when I tend to, if I'm not wearing trail runners and I wear boots, I'll go ahead and kind of tape it up just in the spots where I think it's going to form. And so far for me, that's usually outside in my little toe. And I will kind of stop, air at my feet whenever I can. Let's see. Yep. Moisture, just avoiding moisture if possible. So I'll dry at my feet and just kind of sit there. Solo backing, Jay and Jessica Hill. That's Actually, the funny thing is I have never sold a backpack because every time I ask someone, hey, do you want to go with me? So for example, you guys have seen both Josh's. They're always willing to be like, yeah, we're totally up for it. And so I have never tried it. I don't have a problem with it. Every time I've said, hey, let's go this place, I usually am lucky. I always will have someone who wants to come with me. Yeah, I think solo hiking is good, but I just haven't had the opportunity to try it, honestly. Lots of people coming in. Lots of people coming in. Dream hike. That's actually one of the questions that we'll get to. And it depends on what you're talking about. And so we'll talk about it now. But my dream hike, I think worldwide. So someone asks, let's see, if time and money were no object, where would I go? So you're talking worldwide. And so the big picture, I'd like to go to Nepal or Thailand at some point. Big picture bucket list. I'm not sure if that will ever happen. But hey, thanks for the drop in and shout out there, Chris. But that's kind of one of those things. I don't know about Mount Everest base camp. I don't know. I know Adam definitely wants to go. And I'll steal his thunder, is to Denali in Alaska. And I think that'd be kind of cool as well. But here in the United States, so things I think are more reasonable kind of dream hikes, reasonable dream, I guess, is I tend to think of Sierra Mountains in California. I want to do the JMT. I think everyone wants to do the JMT, especially after seeing Mile and a Half. That's one of those things you see how beautiful that area is, and I definitely want to do that. Actually, my plan was to do it next year. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I'm still planning on applying for a southbound permit, which is difficult to get. I thought about going northbound on the JMT no matter what. The thing I'm struggling with a little bit is because I'm a family man. I have 3 kids. You guys have seen them pop in the videos occasionally, and I have a hard time justifying leaving for 3 weeks at a time. And that's really the difficult part, is I feel like at their age I don't want to miss a whole lot. So I'm kind of toying with that. My wife is totally fine with, hey, go ahead, take those 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, whatever it is out there, and get it done. Have a good time. But I'm the one actually holding back and being a little hesitant. I have never hiked through the high peaks in the Adirondacks, but that area is beautiful. I actually went to college in Western New York, and I visited friends in the Adirondacks, and I've done some day hiking in that area. This is years and years ago, and it's gorgeous. Western New York is just absolutely stunning and beautiful, and so many great hikes out there. One of the hikes I want to do in New York is the Devil's Pathway, and it's supposedly the hardest hike in the East, and I've looked at it, and it's a lot of like scrambling, a lot of going back and forth across different areas and up and down mountains and elevation gain, elevation loss. And it's something I'm really interested in trying to see if I can do it. I think that'd be kind of fun. Let's see. I know she totally would be fine with a 3-week vacation. Thoughts about walking around with those charcoal filters opposed to just stopping for a bit and boiling water. Let's see. I think that's doable. Actually, I got contacted by someone today talking about filters. Charcoal filters are fun. I think when we went to Letchworth, my buddy Dan, who went with me, who lives in New York, actually had a charcoal filter kind of bottle. And all he did whenever he could get water on that trip is scoop water up and screw it back on and drink straight from it. And that worked fine. Boiling your water is good as well, and you know it's going to kill everything. Just the time waiting for your water to cool, especially on the go, I think is difficult. I actually kind of get annoyed sometimes with the amount of times we have to stop and filter water when I think about the Sawyer squeeze. And sometimes it's a nice break, but sometimes I'm just ready to go again. And that's why I think the Katadyn Be Free is becoming pretty popular, it seems like, just because it's comparable weight and it's so fast. You really don't have to spend an extended time getting your water bag together or anything like that. Hey, Bob. Mount Whitney, yeah, that's another one. I know Tuba, the solo hiker on YouTube here, has done Mount Whitney, and Potato Thorn is another guy who comments on my channel and has done that area in Mount Whitney a bunch of times, and that just looks phenomenal to me. Just the whole JMT in the California area is just beautiful. Oh, sorry, Lee, I missed that one. So suggestions on tarp size versus weight. I tend to, because I'm more minimalist and I care about keeping it small, that's why the War Bonnet Mini Fly kind of works for me. And since I'm hammock camping, I usually don't do those like big, you know, you're talking 10 by 10 or 12 by 12 tarps. I think it determines more a function. It's a function of kind of what you like to do. So if you are definitely a camper, or you tend to base camp a lot and hike from base camp, I would suggest, hey, get a big tarp. There's nothing wrong with that. If you car camp, get a car camping size tarp. You know, I think I'm a big believer in whatever your style is, then you get the gear to do that. So I saw that 39 Camper had this awesome tarp made by Northwest Nature Calls, Bruce. And that thing is great. And it's sil poly, and it just looked phenomenal. I watched his latest video, and that was really cool to see. Can I be free? Yeah, 12 by 12 is big. If you want to cut weight, but you still kind of like that size, Lee, try a 10 by 10 and see how that works. Yeah, and his tarp that Bruce made looks really, really good. I can't really say enough about it. It looks beautiful. Like there are times when I look at a tarp, and I know this seems really, really weird, and I almost said it in my mini fly video, and I thought to myself, man, that thing is really, really sexy. And it just is that beautiful color. That bushwhack camo looked amazing. All right, so get into the questions. So, and if we need to split this into another live video, that's fine. I like interacting with you guys on the chat too. It's kind of fun to see what you're asking and kind of talking about. But a question that was asked is, what do you think of the Dyneema Cuban fiber tents, backpacks, other lightweight gear? And do you think that the high cost of these products is justified? And that's a really, really good question. And it's a really complicated question. The first thing I tend to think of is, how much does it cost to manufacture? And right now I think it's pretty expensive for the people who are making those tents and backpacks to acquire the fabric, first of all, because it's not something that's being really mass produced. That's why you don't see Cuban fiber in REI. At least I haven't very much, if at all. Has anyone seen Cuban fiber in REI? I haven't, and that's why it's still kind of restricted to cottage vendors, because it's so expensive to a material to use. It's really a very cool material. In terms of whether it's justified, that's why you see, for me, I haven't gotten a Cuban fiber tarp. I really have thought about it and considered it for a long time, but I feel like I personally just can't justify the cost for something that's a little bit less abrasion resistant, depending on the type of Cuban fiber you get, of course. But I tend to love it for things like dry bags and my rain kilt. Small things, I like having Cuban fiber or a composite, so like a backpack. That's why I went with the Arc Hull, which is more durable than, let's say, the Arc Blast. But that's one thing you kind of have to decide what's worth it for you. And that's a difficult question, because some people look at my backpack and think, wow, I'll never get a backpack that costs this much. Yes, this feed and this video actually will be up after the video is over, so you can kind of catch up on what you missed. So have fun in class. So yeah, so it really depends on you, and so that's why there's some things that you don't think are worthwhile. I happen to think dropping a whole bunch of weight from a specific area like my backpack was worth it to kind of get that Cuban based sort of material. And so that's kind of up to you. Overall, I'd say it's a pretty expensive product, but the fabric is what it is. What are we gonna do? Side zippers on the Exos pack. I have not heard of that, but that would be kind of cool to get the access in the new Exos. I know they were redesigning the Exos, but I think that would be a really neat feature to have. I think it's interesting to see how Osprey responds to cottage vendors, because cottage vendors are, of course, they're smaller, they're more nimble, and they can just in general do more. They have more options, I think. That's why they can do Cuban. They can kind of respond to trends in the market, whereas Osprey and those big companies tend to be a lot slower. and that's why we're only now starting to see the levity. And I think Osprey and other vendors are realizing, hey, there is a lightweight or ultralight market out there. Maybe we should be responding to that. All right. Next question. Do you use a hydration reservoir in your backpack? And if so, which brand? I do not. I actually don't like hydration reservoirs, except maybe on day hikes. The big reason is I find that it gets annoying to fill them. I know Subaru Josh used to use hydration bladder, but after a while he switched to water bottles, smart water bottles, just because after you use, let's say, 2-3 liters and you're done, it takes you a lot longer to either filter directly into your hydration bladder. And then sometimes problems with the tubing getting frozen in the winter time, getting mold or mildew in the tubing. It's just became too much of a hassle to me, and so I didn't use it for very long. Brands, I tend to be partial if I were to choose a reservoir or a backpack that kind of took one. I tend to be partial to Camelback. I think they are great. I mean, I still have a Camelback day pack. You've seen it probably when I talk about what you pack for a day hike. And it just has lasted really, really well. Camelback and the Camelback Rim Runner is, I think it's called Rim Runner. Rim Runner is the pack I'm thinking of. And it just is a phenomenal pack. Just wears really well, has a hip belt, and it also has the hydration sleeve or bladder. On to the questions. Let's see. Have I ever tried that Survivor Filter Pro? I have not. Yeah, and the Rim Runner is a great pack, but I haven't tried that Survivor Filter Pro. Hike to the Northwest, I have not either. And that's an area I actually have some friends out in the Northwest, and I've thought about hitting them up for a visit because the Oregon area and the Washington area is where my friend lives. Just looks amazing. And when I see Bruce out there too, hiking around the Northwest, and Oregon hiking around the Northwest, it's just a beautiful area. And yeah, another big one that, I can't remember the channel. Outside and Stuff is another great Northwest channel. If you're in the Northwest, make sure you check those 3 out. It's just phenomenal. And I will not be going to UP in February and taking a dip in Lake Superior. That's something I will not be doing. It was cold enough in June, and I don't think I wanted to have that experience again. As delightful as it was, I think that was one of those things where I walked into the water and I knew right away this was a bad idea. A fun idea, but a bad idea. And it was one of those things where I could not feel my feet after, let's say, about 20 seconds. It literally was like a polar plunge. You guys think I'm joking about Lake Superior, those of you guys who haven't seen it, but it's just amazing how cold it got. It felt good to get clean, don't get me wrong, but it was kind of like taking a dip in an ice bath, but just all at once. Let's see, Shawnee State Forest in Ohio. I have not done that. The interesting thing about hiking in Ohio is I actually have not done too many trails in Ohio. And I know that sounds weird, but the reason is usually when I get some time off, usually I want to make sure I see something like a mountain of some kind or a huge waterfall of some kind. So whenever I get some time off, I usually end up going out of Ohio. Usually day hikes, I stay to Ohio, like Mohican is one of the big ones I have done around. And there's a bunch of actually Ohio hikers on YouTube, which is kind of cool to see. A swamp hike, I think sometime I would try a swamp hike if someone was with me who could save me from, being bitten by an alligator. Or, hike with Mike who can tell me, hey, watch out, there's an alligator over there. But by myself, I probably wouldn't do it. And I was in, I wasn't swamp hiking, but I did that Black Bear Wilderness in Florida, which was kind of cool. And those of you guys who are in Florida, I know you guys have to batten down the hatches a little bit for Irma, prepare for Irma. So prayers go out to you guys, and hopefully you guys are all ready. Longer mileage trips planned. Depends what you mean by longer mileage, Corbin. in general, what we have planned coming up here soon is actually Dolly Sods. And that's not too long. That's only about 25 miles. It'll be my typical 3-day, 2-night sort of hit there, get a loop, and kind of get out. And that should be a fun trip. I've never been to Dolly Sods, and I'm really looking forward to that. That trip is actually, it's probably a little cursed for me. I hope it's not cursed this time around. I actually have missed it twice. The first time, I think my entire family got the stomach bug, and I had to miss out on that. The second time, I think it was like crazy weather in West Virginia, and we ended up going to the Smokies. And so hopefully this time around we can get Dolly Sods done. And so Adam knows what I'm talking about. He lived in Ohio and barely hiked there. You have the nice thing about Ohio and for hiking or hikers is that you're kind of central to a lot of places you can hit like pretty quickly. So I can head out east 7 hours and get some really great hiking. I could head north, hit the UP, hike it south, hit the Smokies, head west a little bit if I wanted to, and I guess Kentucky is what I'm thinking of, southwest-ish. Indiana doesn't have so much great hiking as far as I know. No offense to anyone in Indiana. Let's see, hammock, underquilt, and overquilt versus sleeping pads. Actually, I just made a video, and you guys know you've probably seen me before. I use the Xtherm, Neo Air Xtherm in my hammock, and there's actually a video coming out soon about how to use a sleeping pad in a hammock, and it's different. It's different to get used to. I actually prefer a sleeping pad, and I'll give you guys a spoiler alert here, but because it is so flexible. If I have to go to the ground, and there have been many times where I've thought, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to sleep in the ground. I hate that. And I don't end up sleeping in the hammock, but it's still pretty comfortable. An underquilt will be the most comfortable though. I think that's just the way it is. Shawnee State Forest has a 20-mile loop. That'd be cool. Anyone completed the NCT? I know. See, Adam's afraid that we're gonna jinx my Dolly Sods trip. Georgia has tigers. See ya. Hey, Josh, who is in my last video. That's my first cousin once removed. We figured it out, Josh. Do I ever get scared sleeping out in the woods? I do not. Actually, it doesn't bother me. Although I will say there are times where I wasn't scared, but it's very eerie. It's very, like my first night in the Smokies. It wasn't so much being scared. It was just so quiet. It's one of those things where it's the quietest I think I've ever. It was so loud my ears were ringing because there was nothing. There was no birds, there was no planes, there was no sound at all. And that was on the Hannah Mountain Trail in the Smoky. It was just so unbelievably quiet. Not scared about it though. Grand Island I think would be great to do, Bob. It is one of those things where we saw it across Lake Superior. I believe that was Grand Island, yeah. Saw it across Lake Superior. It'd be kind of fun to make that a trip. Okay, going back to the questions before I forget. What is your all-time best piece of kit forever? No trowel. And what is your worst piece of kit ever? Best piece of kit ever, I'd have to say that's too hard a question. It'd have to go between my war bonnet, Big Mama Jama, although that might be changing here soon, and my backpack. Those two things have been with me lots of different places. The Arc Haul. Even though I know I did a pros and cons recently. The cons, honestly, are minor annoyances to me. It doesn't take away from the overall that I really like the pack. It's not something where I thought that those were enough to stop me from using it anymore. It's such an upgrade from the Exo series. It's incredible how comfortable that thing carries. So those are my kind of best piece. I kind of cheated there. And worst piece of kit ever. This one is hard. I would have to say, I couldn't say poop trowels, but annoying piece of kit. And I understand why we have bear canisters, and they do save bears. Don't get me wrong, but that is probably the most annoying piece of kit. Yeah, you can double it as a chair, but the big thing is, it's just so bulky and so heavy, and it's one of those things. I feel like I'm whining. It's one of those things where I think to myself, oh, it would be so nice not to have 2.5 more pounds. I just got down to an ultralight base weight or a lightweight base weight, and it's nice not to have to add pieces of plastic to that. And you know, that's probably, I say it's my worst piece of kit, but it's probably more my most annoying piece of kit, I guess. The guys you go hiking with, are they old friends or did you meet them on the trail? None of my friends like hiking. You are a lucky guy. Thanks. Hey, your English is great, Chris. Thanks for the comment and stopping in. They are actually fairly recent friends, I guess. It's odd. So I met Subaru Josh back when he was in high school, and this is years ago, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. And of all things, we played paintball. We had a kind of a mutual friend, and we kind of played paintball that one time, and he was getting back into hiking, and I was fairly, I hadn't gone hiking in years, and it turned out that our mutual friend couldn't come, but he still said, hey, you still want to go to Hocking Hills, of all places? And I said, sure. And since then, we've just been hiking together nonstop. Honestly, it's probably unhealthy, but I think about backpacking all the time. I mean, all the time. The channel probably doesn't help either, but hiking, backpacking, always in the back of my head, always in my mind. I'm thinking about where we're going to go next. I'm thinking about pieces of gear. I'm thinking about videos for you guys that are kind of fun to do. And so, for example, that water test that I did on the arc haul, I thought about that for weeks. And before I actually got it done, I thought, oh, how am I going to get this done? How am I going to get kids involved? And that was a really fun to do. Hey, Jason, it's my twin. And I call him my twin because we have the same rain jacket, and we both have rain kilts now. And he actually started with the Exos, and we transitioned to the arc haul. And so I think we're just kind of following each other. I'm not sure who's following who. I know I probably got my jacket because of him. I'm not sure if he got his kilt because of me. But that kind of answers that. Let's see. Josh says, yeah, Hocking Hills is a good way to get hooked on hiking. Unfortunately, you can't backpack there. But hiking-wise, man, that place is just beautiful. Let's see. Have a good one. You'll see the replay, Mustang. All right. Next question. Okay, this is a good one. Hey, Tim, as a family man, how do you keep your family informed on your hiking trips as to where you will be and when? Looking forward to the Q&A. Thanks. And so, if you guys don't know, I'm a family guy, married, have 3 kids. So how do I keep them informed? One of the nice things that we have right now is that I actually have the Garmin Explorer Plus, and I split the cost of that with the 2 Joshes. And so it's a fairly expensive piece of gear, and we each didn't need our own GPS kind of satellite messenger. And so we just kind of agreed, hey, we're going to split the costs. We're going to alternate who pays every month. And so that one is really nice because it tracks exactly where you are. You could share your map. And so when I send messages, my wife can know exactly where I am. She can click, and she saw where I was at the top of Mount LeConte, for example, when I sent that message at the camp up there. And so wherever I am in the world, she knows that exactly where I am and what I'm doing. And so usually I just use the presets a lot. And so that's really kind of fun to see and to kind of track where you've been. So that's my big thing that I use. It's really handy. I actually do not use all the functionality of it. One of the great things about the Explorer Plus compared to just the regular Explorer is that if we don't have the subscription active, you can still use it just like a standalone GPS. And so when we went out to the Maroon Bells, we had the subscription active. So that was kind of nice to have. That was a nice thing to know that, hey, if we fell off the side of this mountain, that we were going to be able to send a message if we needed to. But places like Dolly Sods or in some places in the Smokies, we won't actually activate the subscription. We'll just keep it as a standalone GPS. Let's see. Any other hobbies you don't film, such as cycling or square dancing? I do not square dance yet, but that's actually one of the questions that's on here, and so that's a good one to get to. Any other hobbies that I have? I actually used to shoot and do gun stuff a lot, and I don't film that. it just becomes too much filming of my own life. But I actually enjoy going to the range. I actually was an NRA instructor for a long time, taught classes, CCW classes, and pistol, and so I enjoy shooting, target shooting. I've gotten more into 22s recently, just because for a while there it became too expensive to shoot anything else, and then 22s raised in price. But that's kind of my other big hobby, if you will. Let's see. Yeah, Jason, you got it. Why are you on here? You should be editing. See the last half, or the part 2 at least, of your Superior Hiking Trail trip. Let's see. Have you ever been in a situation on the trail? This question comes from Grizz281, where you had to cut it short. Example: gear failed, medical issue, etc. And so the Maroon Bells, we never had to cut a trip short, which is nice. We've come close a couple times. So for example, Subaru Josh actually hurt his foot in Michigan, and he actually realized it when we were kind of passing another guy on the trail. And that Picture the Rocks trail in Michigan is not very, not a whole ton of elevation getting lost, but some parts you are going up for sure, and some parts you're losing elevation. But he actually thought about kind of bailing out on that trip. He didn't say anything about it. He just kind of pushed through, which probably wasn't the best idea. He probably should let us know that his foot was really hurting him. But it was one of those things where he didn't, so we just kind of continued on. The Maroon Bells, there's actually a point of the trip we're heading up to Buckskin Pass, and I mean, it is crazy until you experience out west being up that high and having yourself gasping for breath that you don't usually gasp for breath. It's one of those things where I was constantly breathing, kind of sucking air, and I had to pause, and this is the last pass, and Karate Josh turned to me and said, "You gonna be all right?" And I was like, yeah, I'll be fine. And he said, well, you know, the only way out of here is to hit that SOS button on that GPS. And that's why I was like, no, what are you talking about? I'm not going to hit that SOS button. He laughed. He was trying to motivate me and kind of get me going again. But that was probably the closest I've been, and that wasn't super close. It was just really strenuous because of the altitude more than anything else. Any creepy experiences on the trail, whether at night or people that just kind of gave you the creeps? Oh, he's done the video. He's just building suspense for his part 2. So it's coming, guys. It's coming. Creepy experiences on the trail, yes. There was that one time in Red River Gorge where we wanted to share a campsite with those people, but they didn't want us to share with them. We had gone looking for hammock spots, and we had looked for an hour, and there wasn't a good spot. So we shared because we thought it would be fine. They weren't there, and so we kind of shared their campsite, and we were trying to be really friendly and accommodating when they came up and said, hey, we were looking for a site, and we couldn't find anything, and they were really annoyed. That's a kind way to put it. They just packed everything up, didn't say a word, just said we don't want to. They kind of said we didn't want to share, and packed everything up and dumped it in the car and peeled off. And all night long, that was probably the creepiest, just because they kept passing by. They egged our car after that. Karate Josh was driving, thankfully, and so it was one of those things where we kind of had to string up we had some extra line. We strung a line across the path heading to the camp, put our cook kits on it, make sure that if, kind of make a makeshift alarm so that if anyone tried to come into camp at night. So that part was a little nerve-wracking, and that wasn't a whole lot of fun. So we learned, actually, we had just gotten off trail and we're at a car camping spot. We figured next time in the gorge, we'll stay on the trail. We'll camp somewhere. Oh, how many miles or how many days do you normally hike every year? That's a tough one. I don't know about miles. It more depends on the trips. I tried my best to go on one multi-day hike a month. It doesn't always work out, but that's usually what I try to do. And so September, I'm planning on going to Dolly Sods, and that's 3 days, 2 nights. That's my most regular time that I go, just in terms of time off. But I do a bunch. Hey, kid from Japan. Just came home from camping. West Coast, let's see. There are some strange, I don't know what it is, just in Red River Gorge. Sometimes there are some odd characters in that area, and you just have to be careful and be aware. And I was really thankful that I had Karate Josh with me. And I was carrying in that video. I didn't mention it, but I try my best whenever I'm on the trail. If it's legal, I have it on me. So let's see. I know that video was crazy, Mike. I wasn't sure about putting that up or not. Let's see. So questions. Oh, this is a good one. Okay. We eat after every backpacking trip. That is one of the big things that we look forward to after every trip. I mean, you burn off all that calories, and I know Syntax has his cheeseburgers as his thing, and sometimes we'll get cheeseburgers. But our big thing that we look for is barbecue. We'll start looking for barbecue and then burgers depending on the place. And so best places I've eaten at while you have been out of town hiking. So in Townsend, Tennessee, when we did that area of backpacking around Abrams Falls and Cades Cove area, is in Townsend, Tennessee, Smoking Joe's Barbecue. And that place had the best St. Louis style ribs I've ever had. And just really, they had okra bites. Oh, it was great. Southern barbecue. You guys are really spoiled. It's just amazing to me that you guys have that. You have access to that anytime. Let's see. And I also have to mention, after being done with the gorge, I actually have never been to Miguel's Pizza. That's kind of the big thing that everyone goes to, is have pizza at Miguel's. That one time we went, it was closed. They were kind of renovating. But Horseshoe Meadows Saloon, I wrote it down, in Lexington, Kentucky. Best burgers I've had just getting off trail and anywhere. And it's this hole-in-the-wall place that's kind of attached to a hotel next to it, and you're kind of in this bar saloon area, and it's just phenomenal. I think we've eaten there maybe twice, 3 times, and first time I thought it was a fluke, oh, there's no way the burgers are so good here. Second time I was just blown away. And so crazy good. I know Smoking Joe's is really good. Let's see, Miguel's is worth the hype. Oh, so I definitely have to do Miguel's at some point. I mean, I've gone as far as looking at the menu on Miguel's Pizza, and I just haven't actually gotten to eat there yet. Let's see. Okay, I knew this question comes up. I think all hikers think about this. Hey, you know about gear. You have some of the gear. Why don't you go on the Appalachian Trail and do a through hike? And the question is, I totally have thought about it. Especially, you guys don't know, but I get summers off. And so I've thought about actually section hiking a part of it in all summer, and then section hiking the next summer. The big thing is time away and time away for my kids. And they're at the age, maybe when they're old enough, they'll want to come and section hike a large part of it with me, but they're not at the age where they can do that. And so maybe in a few years I can think about doing something like that, but right now it's not something that is in the cards for me, a long through hike like that one. And honestly, the AT sounds amazing and looks amazing in a lot of areas. The PCT is actually one that really attracts me. I think part of it is because I'm so used to that green tunnel and that area, and it's awesome in some spots, but the PCT just seems fresh. I don't know. And I know a lot of people who are on YouTube who are kind of in the middle of planning for the PCT or the JMT, and that area just is attractive to me. And so that's why the JMT is kind of on my list of hikes that I'd like to do. We'll see where it ends up going. I am not a teacher. I'm actually, and that's one of the questions, what I do for a living, I'm a psychologist. I know. So I know you guys are going to come up with psychology jokes with poop trowels and all that different things, right? So go ahead. Let me see the jokes in the chat. Oh, there we go. If Boba Fett carried a poop trowel, which one would he choose? All right, that one's pretty good. But yeah, so that's one of those things is I get the summers off, and so I get a little less than the teachers off, but it's one of those things where I can use that time and hike a bunch and travel out with family. So it's actually a lot of fun. So now I scare you. The poop trowels didn't scare him, but the fact that I'm a psychologist scares him. Let's see. We already answered this one about kind of your dream area to do. Yep, yep. Okay, this one's a good one. Do you have any recommendations about footwear and or knee braces that could help to make hiking more enjoyable? Because, you know, this person who's asking, inferring, has kind of gotten up in years and used to hike a lot more, but knees especially start to hurt. And I actually have a friend, because I work in a school, who is a physical therapist. So I actually asked her that question. And so a lot of people do use knee braces. So for example, Subaru Josh uses a knee brace. And I talked to my PT friend about that. And overall, what she said, the big thing you want to do is strengthen your butt and your hip muscles, believe it or not. And use trekking poles. Those are the things that you can do to kind of help relieve a lot of knee pain. And so a lot of squats will help, but just kind of targeting those muscles, so your hips and your butt will help a lot. And that's the big thing she talked about, is strengthening those overall areas is kind of a good thing to do. Hey, Jonathan. And Jonathan is actually the second cousin, well, no, sorry, the first cousin once removed, who came with me on the Hocking Hills trip. And yes, lovely kid in Japan, that's exactly right. That's probably why I enjoy nature so much, is it's nice to de-stress and not think about anything. Let's see. Questions. Oh, this question already got answered in the last video. Do you have any final thoughts on your Z-Packs arc haul? And I'm actually looking forward to seeing Jason's from Outdoor Adventures, because I know he was going to do a review as well. And so that's always, I like to see what other people think and what other people say about gear, whether I like them or not, just because it's helpful to get a different perspective. Maybe I'm missing something. Let's see. In your opinion, is the Arc Haul better than the Arc Blast? I don't know if better is the right word I would use. I thought that the abrasion resistance of the Arc Haul and the durability concerns that some people have had with the Arc Blast made the Haul a better option for me. And Bryce, of course, loves his Hyperlight mountain gear, and I will say that thing is really pretty. And he has the white, I believe, that white color, and it's pretty amazing. Let's see, does it handle the weight well? Yes, it does. At what weight does it get uncomfortable? I haven't been able to push it to the point where it gets uncomfortable as yet, and that's only about 31, 32 pounds is how far I pushed it. And that just it comes to a point where I don't have enough gear to try to make it as heavy as I can. I had to start adding water or like soy water bags in different areas just to make sure I get the weight up. And yes, I do think it would be a good pack to through hike with. I think you're seeing a lot more people use Z-Packs. I know there's still Jax, of course, had to come in and say the Arc Blast is better. Hey, it's better for you, buddy, and that's all that matters. And so let's see. Oh, the 4400. Need the space. I actually saw, we were in the Maroon Bells, and it must be the someone had the Hyperlight. I don't know, it was huge. He had a family of like 4 or 5, but he had a Hyperlight. Maybe it was the 4400, but I didn't realize they made such a big pack, I guess. Let's see. What is the biggest change in gear to reduce weight? Sleeping bag. The big 3. So sleeping bag, pack, shelter, or like Corbin said, tent is a good one. Tent, hammock, tarp. So those 3 or 4 areas are what you can really get a big bang for your buck. And so for me, I had a light enough hammock, a light enough tarp. My quilt was pretty light, and so the one area I knew I could get the biggest bang for my buck is my backpack. So that's why I chose to lighten up with the Arc Haul. Okay, hey ACF firearms, all caliber firearms. Okay, what firearm do you carry when you do carry while on the trail? What kind of holster do you use for maximum comfort while doing miles? And the answer to that is I usually will carry a Smith & Wesson 642. It's just a snub nose 38. And I tell people usually it's not for animals. It's not something where I'm gonna defend myself against a bear or an errant raccoon. It's just more for situations where there are people involved, and I don't necessarily want to. I want to have the option to use that. Thanks. The shirt is fun. And let's go back and see that question he was asking about. Let's see. What type of holster do I use? I use a pocket holster. I don't remember. I think it's a Mitch Rosen pocket holster. So it's leather and it has kind of a hook on there. So it, as I draw, it hooks onto the pocket and can draw properly. Let's see. Any tips for warm weather sleeping? Had issues where my bag was too warm, but just clothes was too cold. I always recommend the Costco down quilt. To me, that's like the perfect warm weather bag, and it's a Costco or Bed Bath & Beyond has them. And who else has them? I think you can find them on Amazon sometimes. I think they're under like Black Diamond or Black Double Diamond or something like that. But it's the Costco down quilt. If you Google that, you'll find it, no problem. And that's a good summer sleeping option. I used it in Van Buren last time you saw with the mobile live chat, and that worked really well for me. Let's see, I think where I am, I should be okay through the hurricane. My wife will be getting more involved in videos. Yeah, it was good to see your wife out there chatting a bunch more. It just, I don't know, I think it adds, that's why I don't mind having, not that I mind. I like having other people along hiking and backpacking just because, I don't know, the interaction I think makes the video kind of fun. It's different. I had really bad leg cramps first night out, even after drinking electrolytes. Any suggestions? What do you think it was so you think it was a cramping issue where it's something, so electrolytes didn't work? I would think like leg strengthening exercise. That's the only thing I could think of. And also something I would ask your GP, your general practitioner, and ask them what they think about it. I would also try this. Do you have that problem on day hikes? I guess is my question as well. Bed Bath & Beyond. Tim, do you ever use a poop trowel while hiking? That is a tough one. Yes. Yes. And that's actually is one of the questions, is what's my favorite poop trowel. And I have said in the past that She Whiz Big Dig is my favorite poop trowel that I own. And I'm actually starting to come around to that just a little bit more. I use that in Maroon Bells, but I'm starting to consider having another look at the Vargo Dig trowel, just because I found that it does better in rockier soil. And so I'm still up in the air, but it's between the She Whiz Big Dig and the Vargo Dig tool. Let's see. When are you headed to San Diego is this question, so I can take you on some brewery tours. Whenever I head out west, man, we gotta meet up. That's from Bushcrafter in 1973. And if you're gonna take me some tours, make sure it's really dark. That's my favorite type of beer to have. Is something just really like a porter or an ale. Just the darker, the better. Will Tim be offended if you knew I didn't know? As long as you bury it properly, man. Use a stick. Use your trekking pole, Bryce. I live in southern Middle Tennessee and thinking about doing the Sipsey Wilderness. Oh, that's a good one. The Sipsey is one that I've seen a lot of YouTubers do. Jax, who's in the comments, Drinkwater, I know knows a lot about the Sipsey Wilderness, as well as the Weekend Hiker. I've seen him out there a bunch as well. Tim uses poop trowel. Yes, exactly. I saw on your trip to DIY how to charge iPhone with the sun. Do you have any DIY idea for it? You gotta tell me what you mean, lovely kid from Japan. I'm not sure what you mean. I think it'd be easier to bushcraft. The poop trowel collaboration videos still have me laughing. That was awesome. That was one of the biggest surprises that I had, is that collaboration talking about poop trowels. And I laughed for a long time. My wife laughed at those too. Yes, let's see. So let's see, going back to some questions. How long have I been married? The answer to that is 12 years. I had to think about it quickly. So luckily my wife doesn't watch my videos. Does your wife go out on many hikes? And they said mine hates the bugs. No, she does. She'll go with me on day hikes, but multi-day, she's a big fan of having her own bathroom. I don't know what it is. See, I don't understand. See, poop trowels wise, I actually would prefer to go in the woods rather than using a public restroom. I don't know if you've seen some of the public restrooms in those national parks, but they are gross. Like, I would much rather go in the woods. And I think most people's problems with how they go And Jason from Outdoor Adventures has a very good video on this, pooping in the woods. But most people's problem is that they end up kind of doing different things, like they do the tree squat or something weird. It's just simple and easy. You dig your hole and you do a regular squat and you're done. So I guess that's all I have to say about pooping in the woods till next time someone brings it up. Power of Sun for iPhone. Oh, okay. How do I charge my phone? I use the Flybox Gadgets SQ1, and that worked great out west. I don't think you can justify the wait if you hike a lot on the East Coast, because you're in that green tunnel so much, you don't have a lot of actually direct exposure to sun. So I would just use like an Anker battery, or I think I have a knockoff brand battery, Kamashi battery, and that works really well for keeping it charged. And you can get a small one, and so I have the iPhone 7, and that keeps, I take photos and video all day long, and that keeps me charged. Usually on 2 nights is pushing it. Any more, and I usually will bring the larger battery. 25 years, Bob. That's amazing. That's cool. Got to build his legs to move in the woods. I can. See, convenient logs. I don't know. I don't get that. That just seems to me like unnecessary. But maybe, I guess not everyone has good squatting muscles or something. I don't know. I guess we'll move on. Do you have plans to hike the entire Buckeye Trail? And the answer to that is not right now. I don't plan on doing that. Like, I've crossed the Buckeye Trail a couple times, but like Adam Serial Photog said, I just end up hiking a lot of times out of Ohio. I do a lot of day hikes in Ohio, but not a lot of multi-day backpacking trips. Just because at that point, I would rather, I guess, like I said, see a bigger mountain or see a larger waterfall. And so I'm willing to drive quite a ways. I mean, if you think about the furthest I've ever done for an overnight in Mount LeConte, so that's 7.5 hours. I would almost rather hit up a place in the Smokies and just leave early in the morning and get there. I know. The conversation just seems to, when we talk about poop trowels, for some reason, some people just like to bring that conversation down. I don't know what it is. Let's see. What do you do for a living? I already answered that one. I'm a psychologist, believe it or not. I said that. See, I had too much energy when I said that. I'm a psychologist. See, and that's the problem with the live stream. I can't edit that. Let's see. What about Dali Sods? And when are you planning that hike? For privacy concerns, I'm going to say within the next few weeks. So let's say 14 days or less. Do you ever hike in Red River Gorge? Oh boy, do I, yes. It's one of my favorite places to hit up. That's kind of a closer epic area is how I would phrase that. And so, yeah, I've done a bunch of trails in Red River Gorge, and it's just amazing. I don't think you would ever reach your limit in the gorge. It's something where there's so many unofficial trails that Adam, the Serial Photog in the comments, has done he is the Red River Gorge guy, honestly. If you look through his videos, he has done, whenever you search Red River Gorge, he's one of the big people who comes up, and lots of trips, a lot of unofficial trails, looking for different arches, looking for different formations. Any winter trips coming up this year? Kyle, who you saw in the Red River Gorge video when we did the Augier Loop Trail, is actually talking about doing a winter trip. I'm not sure where. We might stick closer to Ohio for that one. So I don't know. Some options, I guess. And yes, RIG sometimes does get too overcrowded. It just depends on when you go. I know last time we went, it was a holiday weekend, and Hanson's Point was pretty full. And yeah, there's lots of places you can go to. Let's see. Okay, someone asked this question. I know a lot of you have thought about it, but this person would like to know the secret to how you maintain and achieve a true Tom Selleck standalone mustache. What is your secret at achieving the perfect and well-formed mustache? So the answer is just good genes. Good genes and a good routine of kind of trimming and shaving. I didn't shave today, of course. But honestly, I always laugh when I talk about this one because I feel like I was kind of born with a mustache. It was one of those things that by age, I don't know, 12 or whenever it was, I just had a mustache and I just let it grow and shaved. I used to kind of have that under lip thing going on there, but somewhere around college I kind of got rid of that, and I look really weird when I don't have a mustache. So I think I have a big upper lip or something. It's one of those things where it just looks odd. So we'll see. So everything you wanted to know. And yes, I have been mistaken for that Super Troopers guy. If you ever watch Super Troopers and you know the Indian cop who says, "I'm all that is man," when he chugs the maple syrup. Yeah, I know. I look like him. Game of Thrones with his eyebrows. Oh, yeah, you're right. I do have really good. It's like a stern. I like them to intimidate. So like when I do this, it's my kind of dad furrowed brow. So I kind of go with that. Let's see. Team Ramrod. Yeah, see, so you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Let's see. Interests or hobbies. Already answered that one. Oh, this one's from Bob. Chug some syrup. See, that would be a fun live stream. If you guys have ever watched on YouTube, I'm big into YouTube as well. Like I watch a lot of YouTube. And so if you watch the LA Beast, so when you get done with this stream, go ahead and search the LA Beast. Sometimes one of my guilty pleasures is watching his videos, and sometimes I just am amazed with what he is able to chug down. So this question is from Bob. How would you compare the comfort between your dream hammock and the Warbonnet Blackbird? I know weight savings is the main factor, and yeah, actually that's why I kind of went to the dream hammock pretty much as my main hammock. I know this is sacrilege, but I sold my Warbonnet XLC. But one of the big reasons is I got the double layer at the time, and I would actually say, and if I were going by pure comfort, I would say the Warbonnet XLC is probably the most comfortable, especially in the double layer. It's just kind of how it works. Not that the dream hammock is uncomfortable. It's just on the scale of maximum comfort, I have to go with the dream hammock. Let's see. If you were going camping by yourself and were able to get to your car very easily, what would be your favorite thing to cook and eat for dinner? Steak. Hands down. That's steak and maybe burgers. But steak is the big thing that comes to mind. Is if I had to choose, like, what do you want to eat, and my car was right there, I'm going to choose steak every time. Do I ever try alcohol stoves? What do you think? Yes, alcohol stoves is my go-to. When I was out west, I did not, just because altitude and fuel. The fuel seems to, at the higher altitudes, you need more fuel, and it takes a lot longer to boil for the alcohol stove. So I use a canister stove. But alcohol stoves, I love. I use the Easy. If you search Easy backpacking alcohol stove, I have a video on that, and it's phenomenal. I know some people use the kind of cat can stove with the carbon felt, or that works a lot better in the winter time for them. But I like the simple alcohol stove. Use a hole punch and you're done. My favorite trail in Red River Gorge is the next question, and that one's easy. If I had to take anyone to the gorge, and so I guess it's not really my favorite, but yeah, Hanson's Point is probably my favorite trail, just because it's kind of fun to get out there. But if I had to take someone to the gorge, I would do the Auxerre Ridge Loop. I feel like that's the best bang for your buck. Like if you want someone to really love hiking in the gorge, like that's one of the easier trails, and not very many miles, and you see a lot of awesome overlooks. If you want them to hate hiking in the gorge, do the rough trail from beginning to end and back, and that one is not as much fun. Sure, you see some cool things, but the Auxerre Ridge Loop is probably the best bang for your buck. Let's see. Oh, a YouTube question. Do you find it difficult, this question says, do you find it difficult to stay consistent with your video uploads, finding the time, etc.? You were great with keeping on top of it and putting out quality videos. That was very nice. So, no, I don't find it too difficult. I think when I was doing 2 videos a week there for a little while, and that actually was pretty difficult. Once a week is just about right. I feel like I can schedule videos, and you can kind of front load some of them with questions, and you can kind of do more, like this live stream, for example, is a video. But scheduling it and writing my ideas down when I have them are kind of what I try to do. That way I kind of add value, and it seems like I'm planning something. I'm not just kind of completely winging it. Eagles Point. Oh, I do have to try that one. You've been using a pad and not an underquilt. Is this, excuse me, can you use this so you can just go to the ground, or do you prefer the pad? Oh, that's a good question. It's just mostly for going down to the ground. I think the underquilt is more comfortable. Not me, hands down. But by now, I've used the pad a lot. And so it's one of those things where I've just gotten used to bringing it, and I just like having the option. I don't know, it's one of those things I get more concerned about the possibility of not finding hammock hanging trees. So that's why I bring it. Do you carry, this question is, do you carry any sort of ground cloth with you to place under your hammock? Something to stash your gear on and change clothes on top of and keep the bugs away? Yeah, I've used a couple things. I've used just the regular Tyvek. I've also used Tyvek 1443R, which is a softer Tyvek, and so it doesn't crinkle as much, and it's a little lighter, I think. And the other thing that I use right now is actually my Z-Packs rain kilt. I just unzip it, put it under my hammock, or where I step out in the hammock, and that's where I put all my gear, backpack, all that stuff on. So that works really well, and it's a dual piece of gear, so it's nice not to have to carry an additional ground sheet. I just bring the rain kilt. Hey, Restless Outdoors is here. Hey, buddy. Let's see. Your favorite hiking footwear, we talked about that. It's the Salomon Speedcross socks. I wear the right socks. Do you wear certain insoles, cushion, or gel? And so I do not. I actually haven't had an issue with insoles or anything like that. And so it's one of those things where I haven't felt the need to get it. So maybe someday I will. I know Jason from Outdoor Adventures uses Superfeet, which is a really good brand that's well known. And I actually just got contacted by a company, I think they're called Weave, and they have like 3D printed insoles. So you may be seeing that at some point in the future. I'll try it out, at least test it and see how it works. That leads next to another question I got. It's kind of talking about YouTubers and getting kind of gear in general. And so let's see, Souls used to use Superfeet though. Oh, Souls is your current. Oh yeah. So is Souls the one that you kind of put in the oven and you kind of step in them, I think? I don't know. Jason will answer that in the comments, I think. But yeah, and so that's actually one of the biggest things is that even as a small YouTuber like me, I get contacted a lot, it seems like, for people wanting to send products of some kind. So sometimes when you see me do a video, I always say that kind of like the trust that you guys place in me to show you something that's not crap is pretty important to me. And so I always tell people, like, there's no guarantee I even do a video review. It's something where I'll check it out, and if I truly like it, like those insoles I was talking about, then I'll show you. But it's amazing to me how much people try to influence you guys through me or other YouTubers. And so down in the comments, those of you guys who do have YouTube channels, let me know, is that something that you guys get contacted a bunch from companies asking to try stuff? Or is that something that just has been me recently? It seems like I get at least one a day asking me to check something out. Have you ever had a park ranger check your campsite for a permit? I have never had that. No one's ever asked to see my permit or my itinerary or anything like that. So I've been pretty lucky. Oh, your favorite place you have explored so far? That one's tough because I loved the Maroon Bells. The Maroon Bells is probably hands down one of my favorite places that I explored, and it's one of those things where that is a once in a lifetime trip. Like you can see views your entire time on the trail, and that's probably my favorite place that I've explored and walked around. But Red River Gorge has to come in close because I still haven't seen the end of that yet. That's one of those things where it's continuing to evolve and there's always more to see. Let's see. What do you think of Osprey's new levity? I think it looks cool. This is, maybe I'm saying it right, Linear Ashcraft. like a stripped down Exos, probably a bit more durability than the Z-Packs bags. Yes, I'm very happy with the durability of my Arc Hull. I really do not. The only parts I baby is I make sure that I baby the front mesh part. Other than that, I don't baby anything at all. I think it looks interesting. I think they kind of cut out a lot of features that I'm surprised they did. So I have to kind of see it to figure it out. Jason does says, yes, he gets at least 20 offers to review products a day. Now, most of it is garbage. And I agree. That's something you really have to be discerning about, kind of what you show. You guys, I want to make sure I'm not showing you stuff that I actually think is junk, but I show it to you because I'm getting it for free. It's one of those things where I want to make sure that you guys are seeing something that's valuable and not something that is just, oh, you got it because it was free. And so, yeah, a lot of the offers, I'm like, this doesn't look very good. Or it's really super heavy. Or like some people have found out, like it breaks pretty easily. It's cheaply manufactured. And so I want to make sure that you guys see quality stuff. That hiking guy, yep. Josh asking about the JMT. I'm going to try to, it's my plan. I mentioned this before, but the JMT, it just depends on the timing, the permit that I get. It's still in the back of my mind right now. I'm still probably going to apply for a southbound permit. I'm not certain on the northbound. If I'm definitely doing it, I'll just do the northbound like a month before I'm supposed to go, because that one's a lot less competitive. I have not checked out Shawnee National Forest. I'll have to look into that. Restless Outdoors, constantly getting feminine product companies requesting me to do reviews. Weird. Surprised they kept the brain lid on the Levity. Really odd decision. First thing I did, yeah, I actually kind of like having the lid on the Exos, but I totally see it being unnecessary. It's just sometimes extra pockets. Let's see. And the last question I have from the Q&A is, how do you balance making videos, getting good shots with enjoying the outdoors? Have you ever felt that making videos took some of the enjoyment out of your hike? The answer to that is no. I never felt like taking videos took anything away from my hike, because I go into every video or every hike knowing to myself that I always tell myself the hike is more important. And so I know some of the videos that I've seen, like I know Syntax or David Gray or even Jason does. I'm like, those are phenomenal shots. And I know they take a lot of time and a lot of videos to set that up. And I applaud them for doing that, because there's sometimes I am too exhausted to set up a shot. And that's why you tend to see a lot of commentary interspersed with views of the trail, interspersed with my commentary, and you tend not to see a lot of my trip videos having the things that make a good video that Jason has, where you have like a shot of you kind of walking past, or you intersperse different shots. To me, I usually will say for my hiking right now, I just want to focus on the hike. That was especially true at Maroon Bells. I was really sucking air, and I really had a hard time with that. And so I definitely had to make sure that I was focusing on the hike itself and not on taking the video. Hey Calvin, yeah, I enjoy laughing. I don't know if you can tell that or not, but that's one of my favorite things to do, is just kind of let loose with a laugh. Z-Packs sent me a video on how to install my new... Yeah, Z-Packs customer service is phenomenal. And so those of you guys who have seen the Z-Packs video that I just released talking about the Arc Hull, they commented on the video to respond to Restless Outdoors, because he was having a problem with kind of installing the fix they sent him for the low lifter straps twisting. And so their customer service is great. I've always emailed them with stuff and had a quick response, and no problems there at all. It's one of those things that you pay a little bit more for the pack, but it's great that they do that. So, wow, that was a long time. I actually went past the hour I was thinking of initially going to. But did you guys have fun with this one? This Q&A? I had a good time. Do I use Terra Gel? No, I do not. I actually use mousse. So, but did you guys have a good time in the stream? Hopefully, I had a lot of fun. I'm not sure if this is going to be a regular thing or not, but I always have fun watching Jason's and other people's live streams, And so I thought maybe we can do this somewhat regularly. I'm not sure if it'll be weekly or not, but it's something where I think it's kind of fun to have you ask your questions. I thought this was a good balance of the questions that I got from people in the previously uploaded video and from you guys in the live chat. So that was really fun. Don't leave, Tim. Nothing on TV tonight. Let's see. Wish I've got here earlier. I keep doing these. Yeah, I really enjoyed them, Jason. Deepak's really good. Fun. Thanks for clicking like, guys. Yeah, live stream is kind of fun, especially for Q&As. I think it's fun. Any plans for hiking meetup? Actually, kind of, yes. I'm thinking the gorge is kind of essential for people. I've been talking or toying around with an idea with the Joshes about maybe doing a meetup in the gorge. Would be kind of fun to do. But I'm going to leave you guys with that. Hopefully you enjoyed the live stream. And as always, peace.